Forester fans, my name is Lily Evans, and today I will be interviewing Coach Cat about the big win against Wisconsin Lutheran. The defense only gave up 24 yards running. How did they execute this?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the violence with which our defensive line plays and their ability to get up off the ball. They were in the backfield the whole night, closing off gaps, and then our linebackers do a good job scraping through. But I think that was a focus because a year ago they kind of hurt us in the running game. And we were able to extend some drives and do some different things there. And so I know that was a point of emphasis for Coach Butts and the defensive coaches. And our defensive linemen took that to heart. And really early on in the game, they were in the backfield making plays and putting them behind the sticks, and that made us a lot better as a program.
As we saw, there were 17 penalties and many overall. What happened there?
Yeah, I think that it was kind of twofold. In some things, you expect a couple of alignment issues or false starts in the first game of the year. That's something that's pretty common across the board. I mean, I was watching the Florida State LSU game yesterday, and the same thing happened. For us, where the penalties that were really troublesome were some of the personal fouls, late hit to the quarterback. And I do think that there is a learning curve with that with game because, you don't let quarterbacks get hit in practice. And so as your defensive linemen and linebackers are getting in there, that 1 second difference that is between a good clean hit and a late hit up to the interpretation of the officials. Again, I thought all 5 were legitimate calls. I didn't think that our guys were egregious in trying to get personal fouls or anything like that. I don't think they were trying to attack the quarterback, but I think that we were just a little bit off there. I mean, so we can't do that. That's not championship level football to have 17 penalties. We had 5 drives extended because of penalty. We had an offensive drive that went from what would have been 1st and 10 on the one, or 1st and goal on the 1 yard line to 1st and 46, and then we were bailed out by a penalty that they had against us. So I mean, it was just a lot of things kind of getting flushed out. Hopefully, now we've had that one game. Maybe we should have had a second scrimmage this year and done a more game scenario instead of a joint practice like we did, and that would have helped our guys. But I think that that's something we know that's not something we can be successful with. Our players have experienced that. The veteran guys have had a game before where they've had, in the teens and the penalties, and they've lost that game. So they know that that's something that can be the biggest contributing factor to us losing, and that's us beating ourselves. On Saturday, we were able to overcome it, but that's not something that's normally going to be overcome by very many football teams.
The passing offense did a great job in this game. How do you feel they did?
Yeah, I think that we started off the game, first play of the game was passing play. Okay, we nice easy completion to our tight end, Jay Costries. I think that our passing game was very productive, and I expect that kind of thing from Trey being a third-year starter and a grad student. He knows our offense inside and out. I think what I was most impressed with from him on Saturday is him taking what was there. We found some things in their coverage that we were able to really take advantage of multiple times, and I think that was pretty good. He kept a couple of plays alive with his feet. That was really good. I think an area where I was really frustrated, though, is we had 9 drops on Saturday. And those are 9 completions that if we have those, the change in our production, our change in our efficiency goes to a much higher level. And they were spread out through multiple players. So that's something we've just got to make better today. Like, we can't have those first game moments, maybe under the lights, maybe all those things, but we have to catch the football. And 9 drops is too many. And so this week that'll be a point of emphasis for Coach G with the wide receivers and tight ends, and we'll get that going.
Coming out of the second half, you dominated in score. What did you say to the team to continue this?
Yeah, I really didn't say much. We had a really short talk. At halftime, I don't rah-rah the guys up at halftime. That's not really my thing. We talk a little bit. I talk to the offensive guys about the things that they need to do. Coach Butts talks to the defensive guys about what they need to do. Then we really lead on the player leadership to make sure the emotional state is in the right place. I think we had some adjustments that we made that really helped on both sides of the ball, especially offensively, just kind of click, and we weren't getting penalties. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, we were doing those same things, but getting penalties on top of it and going backwards instead of forwards. So I do think that we had, great energy for the whole game. I think we had like 80-something guys playing the game. So, I mean, it was one of those things where I think if we had one more drive of offense, we probably got another 10 guys into the game to play. So I think that it was a good start to the season. But I don't think there was anything magical at halftime that was said. It was just, our guys came out focused, ready to continue to execute.
How do you feel going into the first conference game?
Yeah, I mean, the big hope is that we're much more improved next week against Illinois College than we were on Saturday, and that's the goal every year from week 1 to week 2. I do think that there were a lot of there were so many little things that we can just fix from Saturday alone that were probably 14 more points on the board. I mean, we as coaches had a problem. At the end of the first half, we have the wrong call on the wristband for what we were calling, and instead of us, doing what we're supposed to do, we're running the ball on 4th down and 10, which is not what the play call was. So we had some of those same mistakes on our end too. So we as coaches have to be better. We've got to hold the players accountable for the penalty stuff and playing a much cleaner game. And if we can improve in those areas, we'll be pretty good this year.
How do you keep your players focused after winning conference last year?
I don't even know what happened last year anymore. And hopefully they haven't. I mean, we've had 45 practices since we won a conference championship between spring ball and the preseason, and now we got to just focus on Illinois College this week, and that's kind of what we've told them all the way through all these years from 2009 on, is that if our focus is truly about going 1-0, you've got 24 hours after a win, 24 hours after a loss, and then you can't really talk about that game anymore. And if you can't talk about the game you just played on Saturday, you can't talk about things we did a year ago that just don't matter right now. They don't matter in our preparation for what we're trying to do. They're great for the stories and the reunions, and you'll have the piece of jewelry forever, but that has no impact on whether or not we win a game in 2023. And our guys, if they haven't heard that loud and clear from our coaches over the last 2 years, we had to do it last year. You win in 21, come back in 22. 21 didn't help you win a single game last year. Now you're in 23. 22 and 21 don't help you win a single game this year. Your reputation, you're not going to scare people into losing. So you just have to go out and play and focus on it, and not be content with anything that we've done thus far, because we've got bigger goals that we haven't achieved yet.
Are there any players that you think really stood out in this game?
Yeah, I mean, there were some guys who made some big plays. Wilson Buckley getting a touchdown was, I think, really good for all of our team, because here's a guy who was injured the last 2 years, and he scores our first rushing touchdown off the edge. I thought Trey played a really solid game. I thought that Trevor Land, really stepped out as we kind of predicted he would. Last year he had a really up and down season. This year he came into camp, he stayed healthy. He had 6 catches for 108 yards. He had one more that was called back on a penalty that was a big play as well. Langston had a really good game at wideout, really physical, finishing his runs after catches on short game. I thought that was really good. Josiah Kidd, his first game as a starter at tailback, again, really good. On the defensive side of the ball, Nick Reek and Alex Bendler really stood out to me, both with multiple tackles for a loss in the game. Donovan Plummer blocking the field goal, that stands out to keep the points off the board. I could probably think of some more. Harris Sukanchik, his first time punting for us, is handling the punting duties, had a pretty darn good game. And, I just thought there were a lot of guys who really did some nice things. There's guys who made 1 or 2 mistakes to keep them off that list for you this week, but, hopefully next week they change 1 or 2 of those mistakes and find themselves back in that. Our offensive and defensive lines were just so physical. I was really proud of that from both of those groups.
All right, that's all I have for today. Thank you, Coach Kent.
Thanks for having me. Great job by the volleyball team this weekend, too.
Thank you.